Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you, everybody, and good morning to my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Mr. Tim Gunner. Good morning to you, Tim. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Natasha. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Calling me
You're welcome.
beautiful. Isn't everybody beautiful in their own way, somehow?
They are truly beautiful on the inside, and it's all about bringing that inside out so that we can see the beauty around us. Now, Tim, I'm very, very honoured and very, very happy to have you join our amazing discussions. What we're doing, and we hope that you'll really enjoy this, everybody, is that we are running a series of 7 discussions, debates, interviews, chats, challenges, whatever you want to call it, and we're throwing everything in the mix. And it's all about inspire. So we're going to be covering intuition, nourishment, sharing, passion, individuality, responsibility, education, energy, and all of those. So the series will be 7 modules, and we're going to start off and kick off today with talking about intuition. Now, Tim is a psychotherapist, a coach, a trainer. He has been sort of in the sort of spiritual world and operating on a very high vibration for some years. He's a father, he's a husband. He loves being out in the countryside. He loves helping people in education and making a huge difference in the world. And I'm absolutely delighted to have met him earlier on at the very start of this year. And we kind of hit it off and just started laughing. And I realised that I'd found a kindred spirit who I could get on with, didn't have to make excuses for who I was, didn't have to explain myself to, and who would challenge me in a very healthy way. So, Tim, thank you so much for being in the right place at the right time. And let's hope we have lots of fun together.
My pleasure, Natasha. It's I think I don't know about operating on a higher vibration, but if you mean laughing a lot, then definitely I'm operating on a higher vibration as often as possible. And yeah, it's one of the things that we share is that passion for not taking life too seriously, but being serious about life. And transformation for ourselves and other people. So I guess more than working on a spiritual plane or spiritual development for myself and other people, like you, I'm really passionate about transformation and personal development. And I guess that's why we had why we hit it off immediately. And why it's come to today, the kickoff of our series of 7 talks around inspiring others to think about some of the things that we are passionate about as well. I'm really happy you invited me along to co-host this series with you, Natasha, because like you, I share a mutual respect for you and your work. I mean, as a businesswoman, as a mother, as a free thinker, as a transformation worker, we share a purpose, don't we? And that purpose is to inspire, motivate, and connect with other people. And if we can do that through our series of talks, then it's going to be lovely. And more than anything, I'm just looking forward to having a few laughs with you, really.
Thank you. Well, absolutely, for sure. And you know what? I was thinking about something that you shared with me the other day about your beautiful daughter. I know we were having a chat on the phone the other week, and you said, you know what, Natasha, I really need to go. Is it okay if I share this, by the way?
Yeah, of course you can. It might yeah, I've no idea what you're going. Well, I've got half an idea of what you're going to carry on. Go on.
Thank you. And I said, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, fine. We can catch up another time. And you said, well, the reason I need to go, Natasha, is because my young daughter has passed me a note, and I've just glanced at the note, and actually it's really important because it says, Daddy, I need your help because there's a fairy outside and we need to go and find her. And I absolutely love that because it really said to me that you're completely in the moment. You totally value, and I know all parents value being parents, but you completely value being in the moment, responding to your daughter in such a beautiful way, but also in a light-hearted manner, and you not losing that childlike approach to life. And I think that's one of the things that really appeals to me, because I recently found, well, I say recently, in the last few years, discovered that fun was one of the things that was actually missing in my life, and it was all down to me, which I hadn't sort of realised. And to go back and to become more childlike and to not take myself seriously and to just laugh at everything that I do that's silly or funny, or any mistakes I make, or if I trip up somewhere, just to laugh at myself, and to have that sort of approach to life full of awe and wonder, which children have. They look at things for the first time, they go, oh, wow, and they get so excited about seeing, I don't know, the first butterfly, the first dragonfly, the first heron, a woodpecker. And I've now started looking at the world like that as well. And it really just kind of made me think, well, gosh, that's a beautiful way to live. And you don't miss the special moments that when you're rushing around as an adult, being too serious and rushing to work and got a meeting and overwhelmed and stressed with whatever is going on in your life, you miss the beauty all around you. You miss nature. You miss the sounds of the leaves that are being moved by the breeze. You miss the clouds that are passing in the sky that are so amazing. I do have a thing about clouds, but also going back even further to, why do we do that? Why do we get to the point where we start realizing these things? It's kind of having an awareness in a way, and like you say, we are both transformational coaches, and probably because we've been through that transformation ourselves, and it's an exciting process and sometimes a painful process, because you're undoing all the stuff that's been piled on over the years, and then you start to think, wow, self-inquiry, well, what's it all about? And start looking inside and listening to things and think, gosh, sometimes, well, it feels like I ought to do this and I didn't do it. And then later on, it appears that I should have done it after all. So starting to listen to that inner voice that's ever so quiet, the little angel, I call it, on this shoulder, rather than the little devil on that shoulder, which is your ego. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think we've all got that devil and angel on our shoulders, and we've got an inner dialogue that's completely running 100% of the time. But there's so much in what you've just said there about the biggest thing that stood out for me was listening to the things inside. And when children are at play, they are completely in the moment. And you talked about being in the moment. I like to think that I'm in the moment a lot of the time in my life, but there's also, as an adult, with responsibilities, commitments to, the family, my businesses that I run as a director, as a business partner, as a consultant, as a coach, there are things that I have to think about ahead of time, and that I have to think and use my logical mind about. So there's the inner voice can be in the moment things that occur to us, and there's also the logical mind that our human rational brain kind of can take over sometimes, and then that's when we don't listen to the things inside so much. So as children, we've got it, and we listen to whatever inspiration comes our way. So let's talk about intuition. So, for instance, I can give an example. So the example that you gave with my daughter, yeah, okay, we're talking about fairies, and at the risk of, some adults' logical minds going, oh my God, these pair are talking about fairies. What are they on? What are they talking about? It was obviously there wasn't a fairy there. However, my deeper self said, my daughter needs me. She's trying to take to get my attention, whether or not there was fairy there or not. I didn't care. You know, my inner self said, "You need to end this call right now with your friend here and pay attention to your daughter." I could have ignored that because we had things that we were working on, and logically we needed to, you know, time to work on. Talk about, you know, set up for this call, for instance, and the series that we're doing of the 7 talks that we're doing together on a bi-weekly basis. So there was things that we needed to talk about, but my inner self said, right now, there's nothing more important than your daughter. She brought my attention to that by handing me that note that said, "Come outside, Daddy, I think there's a fairy." But she was very much in the childlike, in the moment. She's not thinking about stuff. She's just going from one moment to the next at free play. So my daughter's just turned 9, and it's a beautiful time of life, obviously. But I think we unlearn our spirit of play and the ability to listen to what's important. The things that pop into our minds that say, go here, go there, do this, do that, talk to this person, talk to that person. And one of the examples that I'd like to share right now is actually when we met, Natasha, because there's a room, we were in London, weren't we, for a course?
Yeah.
And there was a room full of probably 20, 30 other people there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, at break times, you look around and you think, oh, who's interesting to talk to? And sometimes you're on your own thinking, oh God, no one's talking to me. I must be really boring, and all that sort of stuff. Who can I talk to? Oh, I don't want to talk to them. They don't look very nice. And all those sort of logical voices that are running through, that are part of our angels or on our or demons on our shoulder, the internal voice. And then there's this quieter voice that says, go and talk to this person. And if your head is full of stuff and you're constantly full of anxiety and stress and worry and when your thoughts of tomorrow and thoughts about things that have already happened and thoughts of things that might happen, you miss the quieter voice that's inside. So that listening to things inside that you mentioned, so important when it comes to intuition, because from where I stand, and I know that you've done some work with the 3 principles, and you've gone along and listened to some people talking about 3 principles. 3 principles, for anybody who doesn't know, is about the principle of mind, consciousness, and thought. So for me, just understanding how we work, that we are part of a bigger mind that's at play. There's something that is bigger than us. The fact that we have a consciousness, that we're aware at all, that we're able to think about yesterday, we're able to think about the future, but those things are illusionary. The moment is the only thing that is true and the only thing that is occurring right here, right now. So when I get a thought, or I'm aware of a thought, like I was in that room in London, that on the course that we were on together, Natasha, that said to me, look over there at that person. You may have an interesting conversation with that person. Go and talk to them. And I acted on that in the moment, at the time. Now look, we're starting to have really fruitful conversations together. We're working together, developing each other through our conversations, and hopefully inspiring and motivating other people through our connection and our connection with them. So it's stuff that I would have missed out on if I hadn't have listened to that intuition of go and talk to Natasha. I didn't know your name was Natasha at that point, but it was just a see that person over there, I think you may have a good connection. And some people might say it's my higher self. I don't know whether there's a higher or lower self. There's just different parts of myself, I guess. Some people may say that is God at work, if you're of a spiritual or a religious nature. Me personally, I think it's just part of our connection and creation of everything else, and that it's part of our consciousness, whether that's our personal consciousness or whether that's the collective consciousness, and it works through us and in us in very good ways. But if we're up in our heads, stressing and straining about life and thinking about all sorts of things that really we don't need to think about, we miss the inner child at play, we miss the moments, and we miss our inner intuition that is constantly there and constantly available to us to guide us effortlessly through life. We just need to listen to the intuition, and then we need to take action. Quite often we forget to take action, and that's another part of not acting on your intuition. You know, for instance, if you are walking alone at night and you're down a subway, something says to you, cross the road and go over the street, not down the subway, then you've got two choices. You listen to that intuition. I have done that in London, central London once, and sure enough, I get the intuition, don't go down there. I didn't go down there, and I subsequently heard that there was some muggings down there on that night by a gang of youths. Now, you got two choices: listen to that and take action, which I did, and it helped me keep myself safe and avoid being mugged, or don't listen to it, or be up in your head and be so distracted that you miss the signals, and then you find yourself in a subway being mugged. That's an extreme version or an example of intuition, but it's there to guide us to the things that we our inner selves know are good for us or could be beneficial. Does that make sense to you, Natasha?
Yeah, totally. And actually, it's interesting because your inner guidance, when you're a child, it's there. You have the awareness. You're in the moment. You're enjoying yourself. You have no pressures. You have no worries, and you just go with the flow, and it is effortless. And then something happens as we become adults. You know, our belief systems, the environment, education, society, and all these things are put onto us, which kind of institutionalize us in a way, control us in a way, and we get to a point where we're giving our power away, and we're not realizing and we get completely in our heads, as you say. And yet both you and I have been through, you know, journeys, albeit different and at different times in our lives, and for me, my journey started about 10, 11 years ago, where I literally hit a wall. Everything seemed so difficult, hard work. I was exhausted. I had, you know, constant headaches 24/7, and I never had headaches, and I don't get headaches. But for some reason, I had these constant headaches. And I just got to a point where I thought, something's got to give. There's got to be more than this. This just, you know, and I had no idea about the world of free thinking, about the world of, you know, personal development, self-development, self-inquiry. And I started, well, I think it was my reflexologist I went to see, and I said, listen, I think I'm a bit stressed. I'm a bit concerned. You know, I don't feel great, and all these things are going on. I had 2 small babies. I had a company to run, a house to run, you know, and all of that sort of thing. And I had a session with her, and she said, you might want to try cranial sacral therapy. So she put me in touch with this amazing, amazing Canadian woman, Judith Gracie. I'll still remember her to this very day. She was 70 years of age. Sadly, she went back to Canada. Sadly for me, not for her. Because in 2 sessions alone, with her, and it turned out, thankfully, that it was just stress that I was suffering, and didn't really understand what it was all about. I'd just taken on board more and more and more and more and more, and basically piled more pressure on top of me. So I was almost doubled over, not physically, but, you know, mentally and emotionally, with all of these things that really I didn't need to be dealing with all of them. I was worried, I was stressed, I was highly strung, I was anxious, and I'm none of those things now. And after 2 sessions with this amazing lady who had such a peace and calm about her that I really wanted to be in her space, I felt as if I'd had a 2-week holiday. So I think it was at that point really that I had the realization or the awareness that, oh my goodness, there's something out there. And then bit by bit, I started listening. And you've heard the old saying, you know, when you're ready to learn, your teacher will appear. And that's exactly what happened to me. Teachers were appearing left, right, and center, or angels or guides, or call them whatever you want to. People that I knew in my life who would just hand me the title of a book. And I was like, oh, okay. And yet, when you were speaking earlier, Tim, about yes, follow your inner guide, yes, have an awareness, and yes, it should be effortless, but also that you need to take action. Now, if, for instance, I had had that piece of paper because there were 2 pieces of paper with 2 separate book titles by 2 separate people in a 5-year period, 4-year period. If I'd ignored that information and not taken action, then I actually wouldn't be where I am today. So yes, you have to have an awareness. Yes, you have to be open to the possibility that there's something better, a higher self out there, connection to something bigger than you, greater than you. For me, it's the universe. It could be, it could be God. It could be anything. It could be spirituality, whatever it is for you. And it is different for all of us. And really, I got the book, I read the book, and I was like, wow. And I had these amazing moments of clarity where I would look at I'd be driving along in the car and I glanced up at the trees and I saw the leaves really clearly, almost like I'd never seen them before. And it was as if, and I do appreciate everything around me and I love nature and I love being outside, but that need to be outside became greater and greater and greater, and wanting to take, just intuitively, wanting to take my shoes and socks off and standing on the grass and feeling really connected without realizing that's what I was doing, becoming grounded, connecting with nature. And just being more aware of everything around me. Like, I think the way I can describe it now looking back is, for me, it was, well, I could see things in black and white and 2D. And now I see full, vibrant Technicolor in 3D, 5D, 7D, whatever's available. And I hear things and smell things and notice things and much more than I ever did before. And things like when you're outside or you just listen to the geese coming over, the sound, and I rush to a window like a child would, and I long to see them in the sky just coming by, going overhead, and I think, wow, they're amazing. Or if there's a cloud formation that catches my eye, I look up and go, oh, wow, or a sunset. And these things have a much deeper meaning for me. And like you were saying, Tim, when you and I met, you had an awareness that was some kind of connection, or it would be a good connection, a good conversation between the two of us. And so I can't remember who said what first. I think it was over the coffee. We were all trying to work out how to work the coffee machine or something. And during the break, and you said something and I said something, and then you made me laugh, and I'm like, oh, this guy sounds quite fun. That's good, and we'll continue the conversation. And we met other people as well, again, and we had lunch with somebody else, and again, that was really nice too. And having that awareness that A, we are all connected, B, we may or may not be drawn to people on different levels, whether it be business, whether it be spare time, whether it be personal, whether it be relationships, whatever it might be, or whether you're sort of almost like a magnet repelled against one another. The fact is we are all connected, and birds of a feather flock together. There's an old saying, very, very true. People who are operating, well, like I say, on a certain vibration, I know you describe it slightly differently, but in essence, it's the same kind of thing. They come together, they meet, they're drawn together. And so when you become more aware of what's going on, when you listen to your inner guidance and the quiet little voice, the angel, rather than the demon inside of you, your gut feeling, then you'll know that the right people will come into your life. You trust that they do. And more, almost every single person I meet, almost every single encounter, whether it be at the bank, at the shop, at the post office, in the street, queuing up for something, every single encounter that I have is positive. And that's like so wow for me on a daily basis. I'm truly grateful. And I'm like, thank you. Wow, thank you so much. All these encounters that I have. But I'd like to, if I may, go back to the example that you gave, Tim, a little earlier about being in London and you could either have taken the subway or crossed the road, and you followed your intuition to cross the road. So yes, I get what you're saying there, but I wanted to just take another sort of dimension or another angle on that, and that was that you have a choice. Now, I'm not saying that you were wrong in what you did. I think you're completely right, and you are very in tune with your inner guide. I know from the conversations we've had in the past. But there is another thing that I wanted to touch on, and that was this. It's all about perception. Now, if your perspective of the world is that the world is a dangerous, unsafe, horrible place where bad things happen and you can't trust anybody, then in actual fact that will be your experience of life. It will become your reality because that's what you're thinking, and your thoughts are really powerful, and they do become your reality. On the flip side of that, however, and I know you're not in that sort of bracket, but on the flip side, if you see the world as a safe, exciting place full of adventure and wonder and experiences to be enjoyed, and a safe place to meet incredibly interesting people, then again, that will be your reality. If you see the world as an abundant place and there's plenty for everyone, then that will be the life you lead. That will be your experience of the world. And so if I was looking out at night and I had a feeling that maybe I'm not so sure if I should walk this way, I might cross the road. Yes, I would follow that. But at the same time, I would have a consciousness in me. And I will say, Natasha, you are safe. You are absolutely in a friendly world. And by thinking those very thoughts, you're actually putting out a positive vibration that will only attract safe things to come to you. And the fact is that will be your experience rather than a hostile world experience. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I was just thinking about a inspiring story that I read on social media a couple of days ago, where a social worker in the States was actually mugged at knife point. But rather than go into freak out mode about the situation, he was thinking, well, this guy obviously needs something, so handed over his wallet and then said, look, it's cold out there tonight, you might need my coat. All this sort of stuff, and ended up taking this guy for a meal, and then at the end of the meal, he said to the mugger, well, you may need to pick up the check because you've got my wallet. And the guy ends up giving him his wallet back, but the guy who's been mugged gave him $20, and this guy was and said, I'll give you this $20 if you give me your knife, and he hands over his knife, and just a series of events that kind of like that meant that guy, the mugger, started to see that there were better things in life, and also the muggee, if you like, was taking not the fear approach to being mugged, but a kind of making a stand of love and reaching out a hand to this guy. But so it's all perspective, isn't it? I'd like to pick up on that because as you know, we've got slightly different perspectives on this as well. And although in the past, I've been involved in lots of personal developments, theories, models, and approaches, including positive thinking and other things. These days, I know from my own experience that both positive and negative experiences are just created from within by me, that the world is actually quite neutral, and that it is a question of your perspective on what is happening supposedly externally to you creates how you think about life. So I think that's really important, because that's what the great sages and enlightened ones of yesteryear were trying to say when they were saying, look inside, go within, heaven and earth is both is here, both within you. So your perspective on life creates everything. So for me, bringing it back to the principles, the three principles that I mentioned earlier, the three principles are basically principles that govern the way that we create our experience. And it's through the power of a thought. And if we have a positive thought about something, then we're going to create a more positive experience of that thing or situation or person. If we have a negative thought about somebody, then it stands to reason that you create a negative experience or thought or interaction with person or situation. So taking action on your intuition, whether it tells you, to steer away from a situation or a person or go and connect with a person or situation, is the big one, because you need to be in the game of taking action in the moment in order to drive your life forward, for me. And personal relationships, we're all connected. And you are always connected with your intuition. But if you are up in your head, then you are creating little thoughts about how you see people or how you see situations that are normally positive or negative in your thinking. But I think the world is actually quite neutral. It's only when we have a thought about something and take action on it that then it becomes an experience. But it's down to perspective. So I just want to pick up on the clouds. You said you're quite into clouds, and you've mentioned passing clouds in this conversation, Natasha. And my intuition says that this is a good analogy and metaphor for what I can see and what I'd like to share with people around, thoughts create our experience, and the principles behind mind, consciousness, and thoughts. In that thoughts are like passing clouds. From moment to moment, we have positive or negative thoughts, but they're not really real. They're just thoughts about stuff. So you may look at somebody and think, I really like the look of that person. I might look at somebody and think, well, I don't like the look of that person. They're the same person. It's just that individually we've created a positive and a negative thought towards that same person. And thoughts are only like clouds, so they come and go, like your geese that you were describing. They fly across the scenery and they're gone. And we can engage with them and we can appreciate them for what they are, but at the end of the day, they're just perspective and they are just thoughts. They will come and go. And when we understand that that's how we work as human beings, it gives us a freedom and releases us from, being stressed, being anxious, getting exhausted, causing headaches, etc. Because we can appreciate thought for what it is. They're not real, they're perspectives, and they come and go.
Oh, totally. And I remember a conversation you and I had some months back about clouds, and I said to you, I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, well, when I'm speaking, in workshops and speaking on stage with people and sharing about negativity and negative thoughts, that this moment too will pass, however bad it is. And it's almost like a black cloud in the sky. You can literally take a sort of mental step back and get it in perspective, so you're not in it so much. So you're looking at it more objectively and then watching it as it just passes by and knowing that this too will pass. And I remember you saying, yes, Natasha, but actually, even if the whole sky is clouded over, you need to remember that behind those clouds is still blue sky. Do you remember that conversation?
I do. It's a great analogy, isn't it? Because we are that blue sky, and we get in the way of ourselves and also our intuition, which is there all the time, by the way, but it can be obscured by those clouds. I say to my daughter, actually, you know, it'll pass. It'll pass.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that she's upset about. And going back to children and us unlearning it as we grow older, and we start to cherish our logical mind, and we forget the gift, which is the deeper unconscious mind that is always there guiding us at any one moment. It's much more creative. And they know, kids, they don't dwell on things. After they're upset about something, 2 minutes later, they're playing Happy as Larry, you know, and have forgotten the whole thing. Whereas we don't, we dwell on things. And that is just creating the clouds that cover up that beautiful blue sky.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, in a way, being a parent is such a huge gift, because when you listen to your children, when you observe your children, and I'm a real observer, I'm a bit of a voyeur of people in general, but I love watching children, because it takes you back to how you thought when you were a child, and it helps you connect with your inner child. And I think that's so beautiful, because kids just don't care. They're enjoying themselves. They're having fun. And it's like, wow, you can watch children playing, and it just makes you smile. It puts, you know, it makes you happy. It lifts you, and it takes you out of your head, you know, back to the old way of thinking, back into your inner core. I just, you know, I just really love that. It's great fun watching them play.
Do you know what? I'm inspired. This has been great, a fantastic conversation, and I'm looking at the sky out of the office window now. It's blue sky out there. I'm going to go out to play. So I'm really looking forward to our next conversation in a couple of weeks' time around nourishing ourselves.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. And before we go, I think it would be, you know, hopefully you will have enjoyed our conversation, our interaction, and our discussion and debate that we've shared with you today. And we'd love to see you in our next series, which will be all about nourishing and nutrition of your body and your mind. And we're going to be running that on the 7th of September. So keep a lookout for that, and we'll be posting information on Facebook and I think on LinkedIn as well, and some other social media. Tim, would you be kind enough to share the best website for people to connect with you before we go, so that in the meantime, if they want to find out more about you, what you're up to, they can literally just hop onto your website?
For sure, yeah. Needs a bit updating. Don't people always say that? Needs a bit updating, but they can go to my website, which is changeandbeyond.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as Tim Gunner and Change and Beyond. Also involved in a couple of consultancies, business consultancies, but I think initially look for me on LinkedIn and check out my website, which is changeandbeyond.com. And on the 7th of September, yeah, we'll be talking about nourishing ourselves. So that'll be the next in the series. I'm really looking forward to that conversation, Natasha. And thanks for today. Thanks everybody for listening and being here. You can also look out on Google Hangout for the next in the series, and catch up with ones that you've missed, although this is the first one of 7. So thanks for joining us.
It certainly is. And for me, you can visit www.getblissed.co.uk, where I'll be excited to share all about my workshops that I'm running. I've got my next one this Saturday, 27th of August, then the 11th of September in London, and then coming back to Birmingham for the 8th of October, and then running a 2-day event on the 15th and 16th of October in London. So we've got lots of exciting things going on, and we're going to continue to discuss about Inspire, which is if you want to work with me and Tim, then do let us know, because we cover all of these and many more exciting topics. And working with me personally, there is a coaching program called Inspire. We look forward to seeing you on the 7th of September for our next number 2 in the instalment of these exciting talks and chats all about Nourish. And Tim, thank you so much for giving up your time today. I know that you're actually on official holiday, so you've got your family there. So thank you very much and please thank them for allowing you to be free for a short while, and go and have some fun in the blue sky and the sunshine and the greenery around you, because I know you live in the countryside, and I will also do the same. And it's been great having a talk with you.
Will do. Thanks very much, Natasha. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Pleasure. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and see you very soon. Bye for now.